Take a moment to think of the game that is most difficult and hardest to master. Perhaps what came to mind first was a difficult shooter game. This would make sense, as tactical games such as CSGO, Valorant, and Rainbow Six Siege all require skills that not everyone can attain. It's a combination of hand-to-eye coordination, game sense, and creativity that goes into making you good at these games. However, there is a limit to how good you can be. So maybe you're thinking outside of shooters and getting more into strategy games. League of Legends and Dota are two very popular strategy games, and it requires quick thinking and immense game knowledge to be good. People that don't play these games have zero idea what's going on during the tournaments, and to be honest with you, I myself have no clue how these commentators keep up with what's going on.
Scout goes in, able to find the three-man taunt into the Winds of War now as well. Looking at channel the LC, not going to be able to do it. Arce's already going to be taken out of the fight though as the Irelia ultimate finds its way into the middle of the mix.
But still, these titles have a cap to how good you can be. So now you might be diving into the idea that I'm referring to a single-player game, or more specifically, how people will speedrun the whole game for cutthroat times that would take years of practice to come close to. Games such as Super Mario 64 and Minecraft have very competitive scenes for speedrunning, and it does take a long time to build the skill necessary to be on top. But there's a skill ceiling for that too, despite being very high. After all, there is only so fast you can go while speedrunning these games. Have you given up? Well, I'm sure you've read the title of this video, so you know exactly what I'm going to say. So let's talk about rhythm games. The two that would come to mind for most would be Osu, and today's topic, Geometry Dash. I'm sure those that haven't played the game are a bit confused. How could a math game be the most difficult to master? Despite its name, it is not actually a math game. It is instead an intense platformer that has an infinite skill ceiling. Today, I'll be going over the history of this simple mobile game turned PC game, and how it's quite possibly the most deceivingly difficult game ever crafted. Geometry Dash's story begins in 2013, with a man named Robert Tapala. This game was originally released for the App Store only. The game was very simple, as it was composed of geometrical shapes as obstacles and platforms for the player to jump on. There is only one real control in the game, which is to tap, or to click when it comes to PC, to jump. When the game first came out, there was only a few levels. Geometry Dash is iconic for the song on the first level, because many people have heard it without realizing what it's from. Many people who initially tried the game compared it to The Impossible Game, which admittedly had basically the same mechanics. Well, except for the fact that Geometry Dash looked a lot more polished and also had a different game mode, which the icon you go as goes into a ship. Another thing people liked about it is how new things were introduced in each level played to keep things interesting. Jump pads, jump orbs, gravity flips, and so on. But of course, the game ran out of levels, and more were quickly created. Along with these levels became more game modes, which spiced up the gameplay even more. There was a ball game mode, a UFO, and a wave? I'm not exactly sure how to explain what this thing is, but it's called a wave, so yeah. Moving along, the game was receiving massive spikes in popularity as more YouTubers covered the game. One of the original YouTubers to cover this game, Eric Van Wilderman, started playing around this time and is still playing to this day. I wouldn't say he completely built his audience from this game, but he is definitely well known for it. Anyways, with such a growing player base, RobTop, or Robert Tapala, added more features that the community loved. A level editor with custom building mechanics, the ability to use custom songs for levels, new game modes, and the mirror effect. Okay, that last one was a joke. It's not that it wasn't implemented, but the community kinda hated that one.
Also, another thing I don't like about this level, it literally includes mirror portals in the wave, as you saw. What were you on when you put that there?
Despite a few hiccups and certain developments for updates, the game was doing very well. The game got a Steam release, where most people moved to playing as it was easier to control on there. Here's a very important date, January 16th of 2017. RobTop released the 2.1 update. It added many new features and everyone was happy to see it. But Tripped, you might be asking, why would you randomly include the release date for an almost 5-year-old update? Well, my dear viewer, the 2.1 update was the last update to be added. I'm sure if you've been around the community in the past 4 years or so, you've heard the phrase 2.2 win being thrown around. This complete halt in updates by the developer, who has yet to hire any development team and is also working solo, has definitely killed a lot of the community. However, this game still has a loyal community to this day, myself included. Yes, I'll admit that I too am a partaker in a game called Geometry Dash. It's not easy to admit, but it's true. Embarrassment aside, the 2.2 update situations are not what I plan to cover in this video, mostly because it's been covered to death for the past 4 years. What I want to discuss today is why the game is pretty much the hardest game you'll ever play, and how the skill ceiling is infinite.
Yes! Ah! Hell yeah! No! Yes! 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 Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
I'm sure for those that haven't played this game, a statement as bold as the hardest game you'll ever play seems like a huge overstatement for a game that sounds like a geometry tutoring game, which, back in the day, me and my friends definitely convinced our parents to buy the game since it seemed like a math game. But trust me, this game is much harder than you think. The mechanics of the game, as I stated earlier, are very simple. You click the mouse, and your icon will jump. This of course all depends on which game mode you're playing. For example, if you're using the ship, clicking and holding will make you go up. Or if you're using the ball, clicking will make your gravity switch. I won't go over all the game modes, but you get the gist of it. You click to control the character. Seems simple, right? Well, yes, it sure seems that way. If you've never played the game before, I recommend you go download it now. You can just get the free version, and try the first level. If you're too lazy for that, I'll just put it on screen for now, but you'll understand what I'm saying better if you try it. Anyways, the level starts out easy enough, but as it progresses, things get pretty difficult. By the end, people are wondering how in the world this could be the first level. A lot of it has to do with the way the game is designed. First off, you have a moving character coming into these obstacles that you know you have to avoid. However, you have no clue what's coming ahead if you haven't used the practice mode, which is very useful. So, you might end up panicking when you get close to the end and you realize that if you manage to screw up now, you have to restart the entire level again. Can you see how that could be a bit stressful? Well, that's just the first level. There are many more after this one that ramps up in difficulty and pace. And then there's the community levels, which are way harder than the main levels made by RobTop. The video on screen now is a replay of me failing at 99% on one of the hardest and longest levels I've ever played. Yes, I know, I just exposed myself crying about a game. The things I do for YouTube. And in case you're wondering, I never beat the level. It still haunts my nightmares to this day. Back on topic, does this seem easy to you? In the grand scheme of things, that's actually a rather easy level. Take a look at this level. This is the hardest level in the game right now, but the top levels are constantly changing. Does this look remotely possible to you? What is it that makes these levels so difficult? One of the main things that makes levels like this difficult is the small spaces you have to maneuver between. Remember, when you click, your icon will move. When you have to go through spaces that barely have any breathing room like this, it makes things very nerve-wracking. There are also frame-perfect timings that require you to click at just the right second. If you don't, you die. The lengths of these levels can vary, but levels such as the one I showed myself playing are several minutes long. Think about how nervous you'd be if you were playing the hardest level you've ever almost beaten and you're about to finish the 4-minute long level. You know that if you mess this up, you'll have to make it all the way back to this same spot again at some point, where you might end up failing again. Odds are that you're going to be rather nervous while playing. That doesn't do you many favors when focusing is one of the key elements to passing the levels. Another thing that may trip you up, no pun intended, is the decoration in the level. There have been many great level creators that have made really cool and awe-inspiring themes for their levels. Looks nice, doesn't it? Now look at this level. Try finding your way through the maze of obstacles while also having a seizure. And this isn't the only level like this. There's an entire series called 9 Circles that all contain these flashing lights. One last thing I'll mention about the difficulty for these levels is just how fast things are going. Some of these stages are going faster than most can comprehend. Sure, you can go into practice mode beforehand so you know what to do, but that will only help so much when you're switching game modes every second and having to remember what to do next. That's the essence behind memory levels, which trick you along the level, forcing you to remember what to do next. I'm sure that you're at least starting to see just how difficult this seemingly simple game is. But again, you might be wondering how this game could have an infinite skill ceiling. Sure, it's incredibly hard at the top level, but that's how all games are. Surely there is a place that you can get to and it can't get any better, right? Well, my friend, that's the incorrect way of thinking. Take a look at this clip. This is from a famous video in the Geometry Dash community from many years ago that claimed to show a part of a level that was deemed impossible for a human to do legitimately. Does this look anywhere near as hard as the level that I showed you just a few minutes ago? No, and that's because this level that the section comes from is considered easy nowadays. So clearly, views on what is possible within the game has evolved quite drastically. What might be perceived as impossible today might only be just really difficult later down the line. The top 100 levels of Geometry Dash are constantly changing. As I speak, a new number 1 is very close to being verified, and there are many levels out there that are harder than this new challenger to the throne. As long as creators can keep putting together more nearly impossible timings and gameplay sections in their levels, the top hardest levels will continue to ramp up in difficulty. Yet, no matter how hard they get, it always seems that there is someone out there able to beat it. No matter how long or insanely impossible a certain level may seem, a player out there will eventually clear the level. That's how things have been for a long time in this game, and there doesn't seem to be much stopping it. And that is why Geometry Dash is a game with an infinite skill ceiling, and why it's a game changer for games that challenge the limits of what is possible for humans to do. In conclusion, it's very difficult to be at the top of any game. All games that require skill is going to be hard to be at the top of. But what most will not understand until seeing what lies beneath it is just how hard this simple platformer is. It might just appear as your average math game, but it is truly more than that. It is a game where those that stand at the top can not only declare that they've conquered what many would consider impossible for a person to accomplish, but can also complain about having pain in their index finger. I'm sure that there are other games out there that can do this as well. In fact, I know one called Osu. But in my opinion, no game will ever be as tough to master as Geometry Dash. Thank you for watching. If you made it to this point in the video and enjoyed, please consider liking and subscribing. Have a good one everybody, and I'll see you all next time.